This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Melanoff. With me, as always, is Mark Souza. Got a good bit to talk about in the world of sports. We finally have a big-time signing in the world of baseball as Manny Machado signs with the Padres. That will be our first topic of discussion. Then we will go on about the Raiders finding a new home, or maybe going back to their old home, more like it, and other news of that situation, as well as Antonio Brown's situation, and probably some more stuff like that. Regardless, we're going to move right into it. San Diego Padres have signed Manny Machado, 10 years, $300 million contract. It's official. We got one of two big, humongous signings that we've been waiting for months. We still have one more to go, though, unfortunately. But at least we have one for now.
Yep. And it's not official yet, but he has agreed to terms with the Padres. He'll be undergoing his physical, sounds like tomorrow. He should be introduced here in the next 48 hours. But yes, 10 years, $300 million, which will make it the largest contract in MLB history.
Free agent-wise.
On a year-to-year basis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because, it's the biggest contract year-to-year. It's not the total money, but it's the biggest million a year.
Well, it's the biggest contract in free agency history because Stanton's contract was a re-signing.
But his was less on a per-year basis. His was 13 years,
but it was still $327 million. Mm-hmm. So it was total larger. So that's why it's in a funky spot when it comes down to who has the most money in that situation. But yes, Machado has the more money on the year-to-year basis.
Yep. So Machado signs the biggest contract so far, but I'm sure that will be very short-lived as Harper is on the horizon. We don't know when he'll sign, but we expect his offer to be a little bit bigger than Manny's. Manny Machado, 4-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove winner. He's only 26 years old. Also, something to note here, he has an opt-out, or actually the team has an opt-out after year 5. That is extremely important, as they can't get out of this contract after year 5. They don't have to, I guess, stick with it the entire 10 if it doesn't work out. They do have that halfway point, walk away, opt out. So there is also a limited no trade clause reportedly. So not a full no trade, but a limited no trade. So with that being said, we're seeing little by little, new things coming out about the contract and the details. But the Padres sound like they have their man, 10 years, $300 million. What do you think about this signing?
Well, I didn't expect him to go to the Padres, to be completely honest with you. It seemed like the White Sox were the best bet for him to go. And even the White Sox said they were shocked by the outcome of this whole signing. But honestly, this puts, regardless what you think of the Padres, what they were before, they are immediately a playoff contender and a NL West contender when it comes down to signing Manny Machado. That's just the bottom line.
Really?
Yeah, because they still have a pretty deep, they have a good team in general. I mean, I
think this is a good move down the road, but I don't think they're going to be a winning team this year.
I don't know. I think they might turn this around. There might be more to it than just Machado.
If they make more moves, but the thing is that this is a great signing, I think, for them. They have a very young baseball team. They actually have the best farm system in Major League Baseball. They have 10 prospects in the top 100. So you could argue that they do have the best farm system in Major League Baseball, and I would agree with that. But the thing is that they still don't have pitching. they have a lot of young pitchers. They have a lot of top prospects. But we know in baseball it takes years for these guys to become ready. I mean, can you be a playoff contender without a pitching rotation?
Well, I guess we'll find out with the Padres now, won't we?
Yeah, can you name their starting five?
I had the rotation up.
Off the top of your head, can you even name one of their starting pitchers? Is what I'm saying.
On the starting pitchers, no. But I was like, their team by the starting lineup without a pitcher is pretty decent.
Oh yeah, their lineup is really good, but it takes more than that, right?
They have
we know that if you can't pitch, you can't win.
They have Ian Kinsler. They got Eric Hosmer. They got Will Myers, who's actually pretty underrated. Ty France himself. And Manny Machado obviously takes the shortstop position. Like, this team has a pretty good...
They have a good lineup.
Yeah, they have a great lineup. But again, like you said, the pitching needs to step up. But, maybe it's going to be one of those things where they score enough runs for the pitcher not to blow it. But again, who knows?
Yeah, but we know that doesn't work in baseball.
I know. It's unfortunate.
It's just one of those things where, you can win a few games with just a lineup that can crush the ball. I mean, no doubt about it. But when it comes down to it, you got to have some pitching. I mean, you got to have some pitching to get into the playoffs. You have to have good pitching to win a World Series.
I'm not saying they'll win a World Series. They might edge in their way into the playoffs. I mean, sure, but playoffs, that's where the pitching is the most crucial, and that's where they're going to fall apart, I think.
But even making it to the playoffs, like, I'm trying to think, is there a team last year that made the playoffs without a decent pitching staff?
There had to be one, right?
Like, I don't mean like
I can't think on the top of my head.
Mean names. I mean like production, like teams that were in the bottom half of pitching made the playoffs because I can't recall. I know like the Brewers didn't really have any big names, but they pitched really well as a team. So it was.
What about the Yankees? I know maybe the Yankees, but but they had all right. Like, they weren't known for their pitching; they were known for their hitting. So I guess you can put them.
But the Yankees were a decent pitching team. They weren't a great pitching team, but I mean, they did enough.
Are the Padres really that bad though? You put them like that far down. I know they were bad last year, but like I guess there is also production.
Well, I mean, do you think they're better than the Dodgers, the Rockies, at least in just the NL West? Because those two teams are good. I mean,
the Rockies are under the radar, absolutely, but honestly, like they have known to not bring up production when needed.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like it looks like they're the Padres are going to rely on two rookies to be their best two pitchers. And look, they could do it. They have all the potential in the world. Maybe they'll be potential Cy Young winners at some point in their careers. But I mean, Joey Lucchesi and Eric Lawler are projected to be their number one, number two. Both were draft picks 2 years ago. Both again have bright futures, but very limited experience. And it's hard to just throw them, in my opinion. Like, it's hard to just say they're a playoff contender. Like, yeah, because I mean, to be a playoff contender, you're probably thinking what, like 90 wins? They got to win like 90 games or so to be a playoff contender.
I would say like 88 wild card spot.
88.
Remember the Royals went into the World Series one time with 87 wins. So I mean, it's not like it all depends on how the other teams perform. But I've seen crazier things happen. I think I would say at least 87 wins.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be hard for them to reach that plateau when they won 66 games last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are talking about an increase of 22 wins. They finished dead last in the NL West last year. So again, the Rockies won 91 last year. The Dodgers won 92. And I think both of those teams are going to be pretty good. I don't know if they're going to be as good. I don't know if they're going to be better.
But does losing Machado hurt? I know the Dodgers were going to lose Machado regardless, but if they don't even get Bryce Harper, are they going to be, quote-unquote, in trouble?
I don't think so, because the Dodgers can pitch.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good pitching staff. They have a good bullpen. So
except in the playoffs. Oh.
Well, I mean, even in the playoffs, they're pretty good. They're just they just haven't been good enough to win.
I know that's just been the running joke. Like they choke when it comes down to it. Like that's been the running joke for.
And even last year, Clayton Kershaw had a quote unquote off year, and they won 92 games. So if he can stay healthy this year, then maybe they approach 100 wins. I mean,
yeah, but I always worry about him not just on his game, but on his temperament. Like he really gets in his head a lot.
And I mean, during the season, he's fantastic. Say what you want about his postseason, but during the season, he's been the best pitcher in baseball for the last decade or so. I mean, he's probably the best pitcher that we've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah, arguably so. But then that's always the question: would you rather have a postseason excellent pitcher or a regular season?
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're just literally just talking about playoff contending teams. We just know that the Dodgers are going to be a team that the Padres are going to have to get by, most likely to make the playoffs. Maybe not. Maybe they could finish second in the division, but. Yeah, 66 wins, man. They almost lost 100 games last year. They signed Manny Machado. He's pretty much the only player they've gotten so far. We don't know if there's other moves they're going to make. Now, here's the thing. Padres farm system, again, they have 10 prospects in MLB's Hot 100. They are a formidable farm system. They're ranked number one pretty much anywhere you look, any website you check. They'll tell you the Padres have the number one farm system. But a lot of that has to do with their two projected top of rotation starters in Lucchesi and Lauer. Now, will the Padres make more moves? Can they go get a veteran pitcher? They certainly have the assets to make trades. They could trade some of their young prospects. Remember, Fernando Tatis Jr. is also a prospect of theirs, and he's probably going to be on their 25-man roster to start the year, shortstop/third baseman. They have a very good prospects. Can they turn some of them? Because if they can turn some of those prospects into ready now pitching, I think the Padres could make a huge jump. I think they could go from 66 to the upper 80 to the mid to upper 80s in wins, but they'd probably have to get two top of the line starters to do that.
Well, I mean, this is when the spring training is going to be one of the most important spring trainings for the Padres, just to see how their pitching rotation works. But again, it's just how good their lineup is, even without the pitchers. It's hard to really count them out, honestly, in my opinion. But I understand that the pitching is absolutely crucial, and that's basically saying the obvious.
You know what might hurt them, what might go against them is their ballpark, though. Because they do have a very pitcher-friendly park and not a hitter-friendly park.
Yeah, that is true, but...
It could actually hurt them a little bit. Not necessarily a lot, but I mean, a couple wins might make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, it's a beautiful ballpark, that's for sure. But it is a pitcher's park.
Yeah. Honestly, when you think of the NL West, you don't think of hitters' ballparks.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's.
Well, no, that's not true. Arizona. Diamondbacks have one of the best hitters' parks in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, but when you think of the Dodgers...
Arizona, they keep having to move the walls back because they can't keep the ball in the field.
Well, yeah, that's true. But when you look at let's just look at the three...
Dodgers, Giants, Padres, I get it. Yeah,
that's the three teams you think of when you think of the NL West. Sorry, Colorado and Arizona, but those are the three ballparks that you hate to play in when you're a hitter. Especially the Dodgers is not fun. And maybe it's gonna be interesting to see another contender.
Yeah, and we look at their lineup, and you mentioned some of their players. I do like some of their players, especially Hunter Renfroe and Manuel Margot. I think are really good young outfilders.
Yeah.
And Jankowski's a good player too.
They have a good veteran presence.
But my problem is that Eric Hosmer had a really bad season last year, and he just signed that huge contract. Will Myers is a good hitter, is a good power hitter, but he's also hurt all the time. So, I mean, if everything goes right for the Padres, if those players stay healthy and they have good years, I think they could win 80, somewhere in the low 80s. If they acquire a big-name pitcher, I think they can get more than that. But, yeah, it's just kind of hard to jump 20 wins, don't you think?
I mean, it's happened before, though.
It's happened.
Even without big time signings, there's just been turnarounds and just the atmosphere and
it can certainly happen.
Yeah,
and they haven't been over a 500 team in since 2010. That's the one thing about the Padres.
But you know what?
Yeah.
With the talent, like I know
12
they
straight years.
have some question marks about some players and such, but a healthy roster, this is a dangerous team.
If they can pitch, right?
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, just when a pitcher's facing that lineup, it's not going to be easy regardless.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their issue will be stopping runs. But, look, the Padres were the 28th best offense in Major League Baseball last year. So does Machado jump them in the top 10?
Let's go top.
They were 28th in runs scored.
Let's go top 15.
So top 15, then what they'd probably need to be top 10 in pitching to make the playoffs. Top 15, top 15 in both.
I guess Machado's also not that bad a defend of a
he's
guy
a
on
great
def-
defender.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to help. Also, he's a great shortstop.
He's a
general.
two-time Gold Glove player. I think he's going to play third for them, but I'm not.
It looks from
100%.
the lineups, like what they posted, like everyone's like potential lineups. They have him at short, but again, third base could work for him as well. But I mean, their defense is
good. They have a good defensive team. They just last year couldn't score runs, and their pitching is not good.
Well,
so
I mean, with Machado, I think runs will happen, and with the fact that their defense is good, maybe that'll be enough to make the playoffs to edge in.
Yeah.
Sometimes defense bails out pitchers a lot.
I think a successful season for the Padres, even with the excitement, is to be 500. I think that's a good start, right? Like, to go from 66 wins to 81 is actually quite of a big leap. So I think that's probably their goal, would you say?
Honestly, with this amount of money, I know they paid him for 10 years, but since they had that 5-year out, I think they're looking to win now. I don't think this is a.
But what would you define a successful season for the Padres?
I would say in the 80s at least.
So like 500 would still be unsuccessful.
500 would be kind of disappointing, honestly, if you ask me. I know like off 66 wins that would be great, but like I think in this Padres front office minds and as well as the players' minds with all this that's happening so far, that would not be a good thing.
I mean, there's one thing you can say about the front office. They have aspirations for sure. They haven't made the playoffs in 12 years, but they do have. They have now spent the most money in free agency in 2 years in a row. Now, we know that Harper's contract will most likely beat Machado's contract. We know that. But,
probably more.
But still, Hosmer last year, $144 million. Machado this year, $300 million. The Padres are throwing their name in the hat of teams that are big spenders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's 2 years in a row where they've gone out and gotten one of the biggest fish in free agency. That is a difference from what the franchise has been. So they are trying to make a splash, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's well, they wouldn't be making this humongous deal if they weren't trying to boost their team into a playoff spot. So that's basically how that's going down as well. But honestly, this is probably the best thing that ever happened in this whole signing is for Harper, because he's going to get more money than Machado is. Because that's what we were all like waiting for, is like who's going to be the first one to cave in and sign a massive deal, because they were both waiting on each other. I mean, that's just what was happening.
You think so? Or do you think, because I don't really know. Maybe I think it's more along the lines of just teams not maybe giving the offers of what they're looking for. I don't really know if they're competing with each other. I just think that they're actually just disappointed in the market.
I don't think it was competing with each other. Maybe it was some disappointment, but I don't think it was competing with each other. I think it was just like, man, if he gets signed, I'm going to ask for even more. Because that's usually how this works too. And that's just, I feel like how this is turning out for Harper is he's going to get, I'm going to say he gets at least $315.
Now, there is an argument to be made that Machado's not the right player for the Padres in terms of personality, because he is a fiery dude. He is an emotional player. The Padres are a young team. We talked about how good their farm system is. Some people don't think that maybe Manny Machado is not the right leader for this franchise and their outlook in terms of guiding these young players into the Major League Baseball ranks and into successful players onto a successful team. What do you think about Manny Machado being the leader of the San Diego Padres now?
See, calling him a leader, I hate to really
He's
say
the default
this.
leader now though, right?
Yeah, but his attitude is what always concerns me. I know, like, other things is where, like, he's going to be the best player on the team, no question about it, and all that stuff. But his maturity is still a concern.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen him get upset at the most simplistic of things. And it's, well, he tried to throw, remember, like, that one pitching battle, or someone he had, I forget who against was, but he swung and the bat slipped, quote-unquote, out of his hands. And he was obviously aiming for the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, stuff like that is, like, that's not what a leader should do.
Right.
And I just don't see leadership vibes from him. But I think that's what, like, an Eric Hosmer is for, just to maybe keep him in line in theory. But it just seems to me like asking him to be the leader, he needs to mature more to become a true leader. That's just all I'm going to say about it.
What's more likely to happen? The Padres under 500 or the Padres making the playoffs?
I'm going to go on a limb and say make the playoffs.
Is more likely?
Yeah.
Yeah. We will see. We will see.
Yeah, because obviously we haven't even hit spring training yet, so we don't know how this whole team's going to go. But
yeah, we're just.
They look. Obviously, we both can agree. Machado brings a massive improvement to this team.
Yeah. I mean, I think the argument is just what does massive mean? Because 5 or 6 wins probably. Like I would say
maybe, but again, it's like we're all assuming. Like this, it sucks because we really can't really predict anything at the moment because it's like.
Of course we can. That's what we're supposed to do.
Well, I meant I didn't even mean it like that. I meant more along the lines of we don't know how
they'll make silly predictions hourly.
This is true. We are. In fact,
we will make some on the show, I believe, at some point.
Yes,
and then in our next show, and our show after that, we will predict.
Well, you're going to be gone after the next show.
We will predict life.
So when
I know you're really high on this move, though.
I am very high on this move.
I like the move. I just don't think it's going to do much this year. I think long term, I think it's great because the Padres have so many young players that they can spend money on guys like this.
To me, with that 5-year out they have, really is that. It sounds like if they don't get at least in the playoffs in the next year or two, they're going to be using in the 5 years they're going to be using that out. It just seems like this out is for the Padres if they're not going to win. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying this seems like a win now situation, not just for
this
the Padres,
also might be the most that we talk about the Padres all season.
I think we're going to keep in touch with them as the season progresses.
Right, but I mean, spend a lot of time on them because they've been
They lost the Chargers. Can we give them a little bit of love?
They've just been an irrelevant franchise. I mean, how many teams in any sport have missed the playoffs 12 straight years? There's not too many. There's a handful of teams.
The Browns, the Kings of the
NBA.
NBA.
You can find 1 or 2 in every sport, which is crazy to think about.
I guess the Browns are relevant in theory.
Isn't that saying something though? The Padres are basically what the Browns have been in baseball for the last 12 years. I mean, they have. Yeah. They have finished 4th or 5th every single year in the last 10 years. Every single year. They have been under 500. The last time they were under 500, or the last time they were over 500 is 2010. They still finished 4th that year. And then they go 12 years without making the playoffs. I like the future of this team. I think they have a tremendous outlook. The Padres are a team that you just want to throw $5 on and say which one of these teams will win a World Series in the next 5 years or something like that. Padres are a team that you want to put just throw a 20 on it and get great odds because man, they do have every one of their prospects would have to turn out to not be great for them to not have a good future. Even if 4 of them out of 10 in the top 100 turned out to be really good players, they have a tremendous outlook on their team. So
true.
Anyways, we should take a break. We come back, we're going to talk about the NFL, talk about Antonio Brown. We'll talk about a wide receiver also looking for a new contract, not named Antonio Brown, not named Odell Beckham, a new name. The Raiders Stadium update, and we'll also dive into some news in the NBA as we return for the last stretch of the NBA regular season.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Finished up with Manny Machado talk. Now let's go into the NFL. As we do, like you said, have a new player looking for an extension on his contract in the wide receiver position. What's your news on that, Mark?
You were talking about, and you had actually wanted an update on Antonio Brown.
Yes, I did. Because apparently the Steelers, this one's going to be an obvious statement, but they have no intention of trading him to an AFC North team. That was kind of already set in stone to me.
Or the Patriots, right?
Yes, the Patriots is the big one to me because that's a heated
that's respect
rivalry
right there.
That's just hatred.
That's a straight up respect where they're like, we're not going to trade to anyone in our division or the Patriots. You know, like.
Well,
respect.
The thing is, they've been in a rivalry for so long. Every time it's like a playoff game, it's usually them. They face each other multiple times in the playoffs.
Are you going to be calling him
games.
Mr. Big Chest from now on? Like
I will
he
not
said?
be. I don't think that was English. I refuse to believe.
He said, I want to be called Mr. Big Chest.
How grammatically incorrect he was, I'm just going to ignore it because it hurt how grammatically incorrect it was. Like, I'm not the best with grammar, don't get me wrong, but that is absurd, sir. Like, I love Antonio Brown. I think he's an entertaining guy. Little bit of a diva. Okay, a lot of bit of a diva. But come on. Just speak English.
Mr. Big Chest is what you will now call him.
I will call him Antonio Brown or Mr. Brown or AB or 84 or
Mr. Big Chest.
or just Antonio. Just saying his name without Brown feels off, so I'm just going to stay with Antonio Brown.
So we'll see where he goes. Obviously, he had a meeting with Mr. Rooney, and they, I guess, have agreed that parting ways is in both their best interests.
They took a picture afterwards, which seemed kind of awkward if I'm Rooney.
Although,
you see that? Do you see Rooney's like...
did they really agree upon that? Do we know that? Or is that just what Antonio Brown said?
There's multiple reports, dude, that said...
Because I kind of want to hear it from Rooney, right? Like, I kind of want to hear it from his end.
But it seems like the word... there's too many reports around saying that they both agree to move on, that it has to be partially true at least.
Yeah. Maybe. Who knows? Adam Thielen, he is restructuring, or actually in the middle, him and the Vikings are in the middle of restructuring his contract. What do you think about that?
Restructuring his contract, like what are they discussing exactly?
Well, he's looking for money. That's
well, obviously, but like how many years and all that good stuff too. Like, are we looking at a massive extension? Or are we just looking at a just for the time being kind of thing, or what? What's he asking for?
Well, he signed a 4-year deal in 2017 for $19 million.
Mm-hmm.
He'll make $8 million this year, but since then he's made the Pro Bowl twice. and he's looking for an extension.
So he made the Pro Bowl back-to-back years.
And he had a record-breaking season this year, 113 catches, 1,300 yards, and 9 touchdowns, solidifying himself in one of the best receiving seasons in Vikings history, which is pretty good, considering they had a couple good wide receivers in Minnesota in their history.
Like
Guys
who?
I don't know, Chris Carter,
Who?
Randy Moss.
I don't know who those are.
Just some average guys.
Yeah, below average at best. Like they're not considered one of the greatest duos in of a wide receiver combo of all time or anything. Yeah.
So last year, Stephon Diggs inked a 5-year deal worth $72 million with a $15 million signing bonus.
Well, I think that was thanks to the Minneapolis Miracle, but that's
and
just
the
my
fact
opinion.
that he's just a baller. But
I think
you
the
refuse
Minneapolis
to give him credit.
I think the Minneapolis.
Why do you
Miracle
hate him
helped.
so much?
I don't hate him. I just think he's a little overrated.
I mean, he's one of the best
At least
receivers in the NFL, but you continue to just crap on him at every turn.
I just think there are a lot of other better wide receivers. Okay, of all the people to say this, you crapped on a lot of other guys too.
Yeah, but I have good reasons to. You're talking about a receiver at 102 receptions, 1,000 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns this year, but he's just not one of the better receivers in the NFL, I guess.
I just believe there are other better players. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm saying he's a great wide receiver. You're kind of throwing me under the bus here.
You just continue to Stephon Diggs not that good. Stephon Diggs
stop,
overrated.
Stop.
If he's overrated, where should he be rated? Let me ask you.
He's top 15 receiver for sure.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not like I'm saying he's the worst wide receiver in the NFL. He's obviously not. He's a top receiver, no doubt about it. But I don't know. Obviously the Minnesota Vikings did not they disappointed last season, so there's really not much to go on through that season. Well, of course, him and Thielen were probably the best thing to happen to that team.
Yeah, their starting running back got injured. That hurt them.
Just Kirk Cousins really disappointed is the bottom line.
You know, people like to pin it on Cousins, but he didn't have that bad of a season. Their defense took a major step back. Their defense was probably top 5 2 years ago. Last year, they were just very average.
That is true, but Cousins had some big-time mishaps, too.
Cousins did have a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio and 4,300 passing yards, though. He had a 99.7 rating, which is the second highest of his career. Lowest interception total in 4 years for Kirk Cousins. Most touchdowns passed in his career.
But when it came, the thing is, his record against winning record teams and above 500 teams is where, that's where, the big questions come in. Can he get it done when it matters most?
Right, but Minnesota won a lot of games with Case Keenum, and Case Keenum didn't nearly perform as well as Kirk Cousins did last year, so I don't think we can blame Minnesota Vikings struggles on their passing game, honestly.
Oh, their passing game was probably the best thing about it overall.
So we can't say it was Cousins, Diggs, or Thielen.
I don't think it's Cousins' fault at all, but I think he deserves some of the blame. Not all of it, of course, but there's some parts where he just needed a coming clutch and just did not perform. But he had a great season. I'm not taking that away from him. And, of course, that defense really collapsed.
Well, what is it? Did he have a great season or did he not have a good season?
He just, in some situations, he did not. He couldn't get the job done. But regardless, he had good seasons against losing record teams. That's just how the stats. Look at the stats. It's just how it works. And his record against winning teams really put a factor in, this season for the Vikings in general. Because they had a tough schedule.
Yeah, they definitely did. Losing Dalvin Cook early in the season, I think, really hurt their team.
And him coming back, he really didn't perform very well, obviously because he was coming off an injury. So every time a running back comes back from injury, it's going to be very hesitant. It's going to be very, what's the word? Not just hesitant, but you're going to be concerned about him because he's going to be taking a lot of beatings as well. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, so Adam Thielen, I don't know. He's probably looking for a contract about what Diggs is making. It's
I think that's fair.
Yeah. It's hard to say what, I guess, he's really looking for. But, yeah, we should move on to the Raiders. You had news about the Raiders and their stadium?
They possibly are going to go back to play in the Coliseum for the next season and possibly 2020 based off the Las Vegas building timetable they got. But it's not official yet. There's still a lot more to go on, but it seems like that the Raiders will be playing in the Oakland Coliseum until they are off to Vegas.
And possibly with Antonio Brown.
Sure.
He seems like a likely destination for the Raiders.
Sure. Maybe, but they're gonna have to give up, they'll have to give up even more than most teams have. So because of how high draft picks and such.
I mean, they have 3 first-round picks, so they could.
They have 5 in the next 2 years.
They could easily trade one of them for Antonio Brown. It might be a better offer than what the Steelers get from anyone else, to be honest with you.
But again, this is John Gruden we're talking about. Very unpredictable guy when it comes to all this stuff.
Very predictable when it comes to his liking of veteran players, though.
That is true.
Antonio Brown, veteran wide receiver.
But
let's remember John Gruden, big Tim Brown guy, Jerry Rice, Keyshawn Johnson. Those are all vets. Antonio Brown, maybe he's the next one. The Raiders got money. The Raiders have draft picks. A lot of people are linking Brown to the Raiders. A lot of people are linking Le'Veon Bell to the Raiders. So, the Raiders might be the team to be the big spender this year.
I'm not gonna lie. If I had to make a guess, they're gonna get neither of those guys. They were gonna get. I think they're gonna get some signings. No, that's obvious. But I don't think they're gonna get the big signings. I just don't.
Because teams or players will. Well, first off, Brown is going to be traded. He doesn't get to pick.
Yeah, I understand.
But Le'Veon said he's going to go where the money's at.
And I think he's going to get more money elsewhere.
Really? Mm-hmm. The Raiders might be the one, man. I don't know if there's a team more likely to spend more money on a running back than the Raiders. I could be wrong. Obviously, there's a bunch of teams that are in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes, but Gruden loves his veteran running backs. I don't think Marshawn Lynch will be back either. So
I don't think they need him anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's past. Unfortunately, he's no longer beast mode.
Yeah, I bet. If I had to guess the two, I'd say Le'Veon goes to the Raiders, just because I could see John Gruden wanting that all-around running back, catch the ball in the West Coast offense that he likes to run. Be the bell cow.
Well,
because Gruden's old school. He still likes to have one major running back to carry the load. Le'Veon might be the guy.
Fortunately for the Raiders, they do have a lot of guys in the under $10 million and $7 million and such. The most expensive guy, obviously, is Derek Carr at $22.5. But
they got a lot of money to spend.
They have around $70 million. Last time I checked, $71 million.
And I think even their projection for the next couple years looks really, really good after that, too. Some teams look good today, but they actually have a lot of money tied up in the next couple years. Raiders have some flexibility for sure. So you never know. Antonio Brown, man. Maybe the Raiders will give him one of their first-round picks, and that'll be the best offer the Steelers get. The Raiders aren't in the AFC North. And they're not the Patriots.
But they are in the AFC.
Yep. They are in the AFC.
Yeah. The American Football Conference, formerly the AFL. Don't know why, but that's just why I said it, but it's true.
Yeah, so shifting gears to the NBA. Clint Capella is set to return for the Rockets. He's missed the last 15 games with a thumb injury. He is set to return for the Rockets as they start the final stretch of the second half of the season. Tomorrow night on TNT, they will be in Los Angeles. They will face the Lakers. So Houston, Lakers, they'll match up. That's a good game to start the final stretch of the season for these teams. The Lakers are obviously looking to have a better last part of the season than they did first 2/3 of the season. They're under 500, and they will get their first chance at hitting 500 with a victory over the Rockets. But the Rockets will be more formidable. They are more healthy lately, not just Harden, but Chris Paul is back. Eric Gordon is back. And now Clint Capella should be back. Rockets might be a dangerous team.
I think they've always been a dangerous team, but with Capella adding to their roster once again, definitely more of a concern for the rest of the Western Conference.
I'm trying to think of more underrated players. Clint Capella's got to be one of the more underrated players in the NBA.
You can even say he's number one when it comes to underrated.
Yeah, he's perfect for their team because he can run. Harden loves throwing him the lobs. He's always in the right spot. Good pick and roll center in the NBA. So that'll be a tough matchup for the Lakers. We talked about it. The Lakers are 28-29. They lose this game, they could be 2 games under 500 again. They have a tough schedule coming up as well. Not only do they play Houston, but they do have a couple winnable games after that. Pelicans, Grizzlies, Pelicans. But March starts to heat up as they play the Kings, the Bucks, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Raptors, the Bucks again, the Jazz, and the Hornets all in the month of March. So tough schedule for the Lakers. They're
honestly, I'm
going to
say this right now. It will not surprise me. Well, super surprise me at least. Or shocked, I guess is the better word. That a LeBron James Lakers will not make the playoffs.
It won't surprise you.
Not as much as it would you.
Oh yeah, it would definitely surprise.
Like you would have a heart attack.
I mean, I don't know about that.
I mean,
I don't have any stake in this game, but
you're getting a little. But you're getting a little old. So maybe just worry about your heart condition.
Oh, I'm in pretty good health, man.
I mean, you're 55, man. I'm sorry, 35.
55, but I look 35. So
Benjamin Button's disease.
Maybe 25.
Maybe 25.
Yep. We need to take a break though. When we come back, we're going to talk about college basketball.
Yay.
And UFC.
Yay.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Finishing up the day, going into college basketball, we have probably one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports happening today. North Carolina versus Duke.
Mm-hmm.
These two have quite a history.
Really? Have they played each other before? I can't recall.
1 or 2 times, roughly.
Did you see that the tickets for this game are approaching Super Bowl level prices?
Oh, yeah. It's a big one.
They're in the hundreds of dollars.
Well, we got 1 ranked Duke. Last time I checked, it was 1 ranked Duke versus 8 ranked North Carolina.
Like, I realize it's a rivalry, and I realize that it's Duke. Like, I understand the novelty and
it's
the
like
history.
It's Ohio State and Michigan in football. That's what this is for basketball.
But were the tickets ever as expensive as hundreds and hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars for just to get entrance?
Well, the thing is, it's a smaller venue.
Right.
So you got to think of it like that as well. But here are the stats of their last 175 meetings. Total points for North Carolina is 13,337. How much do you think Duke has in points total in the last 175 games?
Sorry, one more time?
So in the last 175 meetings, North Carolina has scored 13,337 points.
Oh, okay.
How much do you think Duke has?
The same -5.
13,335.
Was
minus
it close?
2.
Oh, I was really close.
-2. That's absurd. In their last 102 meetings, they're even at 52 wins apiece. And when they met ranked, when ranked 75 times since 61, the points they got through like the voting and stuff is over 5,000 each. Exactly the same, actually, 5,874.
Do you want to know what the cheapest ticket available on the market is right now?
Probably like $200.
You wish.
$500.
You wish.
$2,000.
$2,500 is the cheapest ticket.
Fudgesicles. Man,
Yeah.
being
The cheapest ticket for
the
the NFL Super Bowl was $2,600. It's only $100 difference.
having the student pass to go to these games is probably very lucky right now.
One ticket sold on Vivid Seats this week for this game was $11,000.
Wait, courtside?
I have no idea.
Oh my. It's like in the bleachers, the last seat in the background.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
how important
the
this
Zion
game is.
effect.
I don't think it's just Zion. It's just this is the rivalry in general. And how
Well, tickets for this game have never even been close to this. That's the thing. There's also they talked to this guy Kyle Zorn, who's a marketing strategist for secondary ticket seller TickPick. They talked to him, and they said they've never seen anything like this. Even for professional other college games, like, yeah, big name players can move, rivalries can happen and stuff like that, but nothing like this.
yeah,
$10,000 for one ticket.
Yeah, this is.
You know how much a
Absurd.
national championship ticket was last year in college basketball? The lowest was $67.
Oh,
the
wow,
average
that's close.
price to attend a North Carolina home game is $70. But the
And this
March 9th rematch against Duke, the cheapest ticket is $991.
That's a good price.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
this is
whoever's-
actually
But the
insane.
thing is, regardless of what it costs, people will pay to see this.
So Duke is favored by 9 points.
Honestly, not gonna lie, this could be on pay-per-view and it would sell.
Yeah, Duke's favored by 9.
And it's because of one man and one man only.
They got other good players, though.
I was talking about.
They got 3 of the top 4 freshmen.
I was talking about their mascot, but okay,
The Blue Devil?
yeah, that's the selling point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who else is on that team. I'm unaware of how good the Duke is. Like, who's on their team that like is a good draft prospect? Just give me one name.
Zion?
Who?
Nah, some guy.
Okay.
I think it's Zion or something.
Man, who
other.
names for kids Zion? I'm kidding. Obviously, this game is hype because of how good Zion is and his hype going into this and just the rivalry in general. We're all going to watch this game. I think it's going to be viewed in, like, I don't think it'll be close to the Super Bowl per se, but for a nationwide audience, it's going to be quite a handful.
Yeah. Something really cool happened. Now, there's a kid, a Purdue student. His name is Aaron Lay, I believe his last name is. Aaron Lay or Aaron Lai.
How's it spelled?
L-A-I. Aaron Lay or Ellen Lai.
I think it's Lay.
Regardless, this awesome guy, he announced a walk on January 20th, an effort to raise awareness for Tyler Trent. Remember Tyler Trent, this
Yes.
Purdue fan who passed away
Yes, I
of
do.
cancer? So this kid, Aaron Lay, he walked 100 miles from West Lafayette, Indiana to Bloomington for the team's game against rival Indiana Hoosiers. He raised over $20,000 in the process.
It goes to his family and goes to the cause.
I believe it goes to the cause, but I
That's
could
cool.
be
Regardless,
wrong.
it's a very cool feat.
Yes, so
Very unselfish.
he walked all the way, 100 miles.
I can't even walk a mile, so I don't know how this guy did it.
And what was cool is that Tyler Trent's parents were there at the arena to welcome him.
Oh,
when he got there.
that's a special moment right there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just shows that like
And Purdue won the basketball game on a tip-in with 3 seconds left.
that was all him, not the runner, the young man that passed away. That was him in spirit. But honestly, this is what humanity restored feels like. You know, that classic saying, humanity's restored. It's this kind of gesture that really puts your faith in humanity.
Yep. Big time. So, UFC 236 will feature the interim middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Gastelum. They will fight. We don't know the location yet, but it'll be for the interim title as Whitaker is recovering from his hernia and surgery. So,
it was a life-threatening surgery too. So, It was a pretty serious one, in all things considered.
Anyways, I think that is our show for today.
Well then, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Please join us in tomorrow. We'll be discussing more stuff about the NBA. Possibly, who knows? And we'll also be talking about just hopefully some news will come out about baseball. Maybe Harper will be sign a contract. Maybe there'll be some NFL news. But as always, I'm Jeff Malinoff. That's Mark Souza. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.